Hello, everybody. What do you say, gang? Little rogue hair here. It's the American Doofus Show. Don't be a doofus. Thank you for watching. It is 9:08 p.m., the 23rd day of February in the year 2022. And the headline, are we at a countdown to war? It certainly appears that way, at least at this hour. And again, it is 9:09. I apologize for being a little bit late. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for being here. And if you're new here, it's the American Doofus Show. Don't be a doofus. And our focus has been for the past several episodes the growing conflict between Ukraine and Russia. You can go back to our episode that Chris and I did. Chris is our security and terrorism expert. About 6 weeks ago, we did an episode. I'll put the link after this is over. I'll put the link down in the description. To that episode, you can go back and watch. We talked about how all of this would play out, and eerily similar to everything we talked about, we're seeing happen here, and might even happen tonight. Just a brief recap of what has gone on since our afternoon update. Things have escalated. Cleaning my glasses here, I apologize. Things have escalated, and there is currently a state of emergency in the entire country of Ukraine. The UN Security Council is going to be meeting again here in a few minutes, and we'll drop in and out of coverage of that as depending on who's speaking. And again, I want to thank you all for watching. So it is an incredibly heightened state, and let's just not make it hyperbole. Let me start by going to Twitter. Now, normally, if you watch this show, we don't access Twitter, we don't access TikTok, we don't access, but they are the frontline journalists at the moment. And those two platforms seem to be where most of the information is coming out, not only from your average everyday citizen, but journalists, including CNN's Aaron, I forget what her last name, real attractive young woman, Erin Burnett. I didn't know she was broadcasting live from Kiev until I saw her Twitter. So this is one of those cases where social media is going to play a big part, and it's also a reason why one of the things we'll be looking for will be cyber attacks and social media going down. Why? Because they can't have what happened with George Floyd happen and see the Russian soldiers committing war crimes, or see the Ukrainian soldiers committing war crimes, or American soldiers, or, American soldiers won't be there. They don't have boots on the ground unless they're special forces or CIA, in which case we most likely wouldn't be aware of it. But Russia has been taking down they've launched cyber attacks. They've taken down websites. They've taken down most of the Ukrainian government website. As I said, Ukraine is under a state of emergency. The United States has said, and I saw this on CNN, not from Aaron Burnett, but I saw it on CNN, that invasion is imminent, and they will be taking body bags back to Moscow. So that was from a Defense Department spokesperson. Let me just make sure my production's good and I've got this up. Okay, I do. This is how we're going to start the night out. Again, it's not hyperbole. Things are tense. Let me see if I can enlarge this so that you can read along with me. This is from Nolan Peterson, and Nolan, that's Nolan right there. He is a war reporter based in Ukraine since 2014. He's a former United States Air Force Special Operations pilot. He's an author, an occasional adventurer, and a senior editor at the Coffee or Die magazine, online magazine. And he's currently in Ukraine. And again, this is not your average newscast. We do things differently here. You know, we try to show things that you're not going to see on any mainstream media, and you may not see anywhere else. He says something bad is in the air tonight. We're under a national emergency. Airports are shut down. Military reserves have been called up. I lack the talent to express what it feels like to be in this European capital, home to millions. And he continues, I'm sitting here wondering what our world is going to look like when the sun comes up a few hours from now. There's been a lot of false alarms, and I hope beyond hope that tonight is one too. Amen to that, Mr. Peterson. He continues, and after he's saying, and I hope that tonight is one too. And we wake up tomorrow and laugh off our unnecessary anxieties and go on living like any other day until the sun goes down and the unthinkable looms impossible once again. I think that pretty much describes, probably as fitting as you possibly can, what it might feel like inside the Ukraine at the moment. I'm sure this is expired by now. No, it hasn't. Good. I just want to pop over here to Flight Tracker. Then I'll get back to the StreamYard page and check in with the chat before we go any further. This is Ukraine at the moment. I imagine this is Forte 12. Yeah, this is the United States drone, presumably a surveillance drone, but not necessarily without weaponry. And you can see its flight path has been pretty well reserved over here in the region where Donetsk and Luhansk, I'm sure that you've heard those names before. Here's one you probably haven't, Mariupol, and I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes. As you can see, there are no flights. You remember last night, if you were watching, there was an incredible line of flights coming down this way and going back up this way. There are no flights anywhere close to the Ukrainian border. As a matter of fact, I'll pop back over there in just a second. But I was watching Steve just before coming on, and he pointed out from Intlet News, just as an Israeli El Al flight makes a U-turn and leaves Ukrainian airspace, a SkyUp Airlines plane that took off from Kiev's Boris Airport has made an immediate turn and is landing again. What does that mean? The Israeli Airlines flight was getting ready to come right into the heart of Ukrainian airspace, and just as it started in, it was warded off and took an immediate turn. I'm sure we can find that on it'll be documented, because so many people are watching FlightWare now just for these kind of hints as to what may be coming. And then the other plane that had just taken off from Kiev, which is right up here, the other plane that had just taken off turned around and immediately landed again. So there is something in the air, definitely. While I have this map up, Kharkiv, right here, Kharkiv. Everyone's focused on Donetsk and Luhansk, and Donetsk. And I said another name is Mariupol. Kharkiv. If an attack happens tonight, this is where the attack will be. This will be the objective of the attack. Kharkiv, right here, where my cursor is right at the moment. And let me pop over to this map. I don't want. There we go. It could be a very long night, folks. It honestly could. Here's Kharkiv right here. And let me see if I can get that to stay up so you can see it. I can't. Okay. It is a really large city. I've talked about it a few times on here because of what I thought the significance of it strategically, and I haven't heard it talked about a whole lot. Maybe it has been because mainstream's really starting to pay attention to this. For a while, there weren't many of us talking about this. Kharkiv is it's a transportation hub. A lot of trains, a lot of mass transit going in and out of it. It's a large city. Actually, there are more people that live right here in Kharkiv than live in the entire country of Estonia, right up here. Okay, just one of those Sheldon Cooperish kind of little facts to throw in. Where am I at? There we go. Now, here's what I think is going to happen. And this is just my opinion. This is not based on any conversations I've had with anybody else or anything like that. This is just what I think, analyzing the situation and like playing chess. Okay. Kharkiv is going to be the prime target when an invasion happens. At the moment, going back, there's a 7-mile traffic jam for 7 miles leading into Kharkiv. Why do you think that is? Well, it's because there is a massive military convoy of Russian troops and equipment poised to advance. There are satellite photos of it. Google Earth here. Actually, let me see if I can. Let me explain what I think is going to happen. This is the target tonight. Depending on the success or failure of capturing this region and I don't know, 1.5 million people, they've already got this area over here, Luhansk and Donetsk. These are controlled by Russian separatists, and the Russian separatist leaders in these two places. It may sound like I'm going all over the place. It's because a lot has happened, and because it all ties in. And again, when I finish with this, I'm going to hop over into the chat and answer some questions if I can, and say hi if nothing else. In these two areas, there are Russian separatist controlled governments. And this all stems from 2014 when Ukraine had a civil war and overthrew the pro Russian leader. When that happened, Russia got mad. They came in here and took Crimea. And this area right here has been propped up by Russia. So the two leaders of the leader of each one of these two areas both sent letters, and I think I've got it in. I know I've got it in one of the Twitter pages if I haven't taken it off. The two leaders sent letters to Putin requesting military aid to drive off the aggression of the Ukraine. And again, trying to give rationale for an invasion, in my opinion, and in a lot of people's opinion. And I mentioned Crimea down here. There is a chemical plant right here near the border of occupied Crimea, because Crimea still legally is part of Ukraine, as is Donetsk and Luhansk. And a chemical plant here, they were ordered to close and not have a third shift because they felt like they were going to be attacked. A lot of people said, "Okay, this is what the false flag, one of the false flag operations, as they're going to attack this plant knowing it's empty, and then blame Ukraine for doing it." The other option is they had intelligence Ukraine was going to attack, and that's why they emptied out the place. But a rational person would realize that Putin has armies up here in Belarus on this border. He has a massive amount of people, or massive amount of troops right here, and he has troops right down here, as well as in this area. Okay. You wouldn't attack somebody if you were in the position that Ukraine is in. You just wouldn't if you were rational. There are those that question whether Putin is rational. There are those that say Putin is going crazy because only a crazy person would do this. And then we've got the former president of the United States who says he's a genius. Where do I stand? I think it's pure military strategy, and he wants to take Kharkiv tonight and drive as far inland as possible, send troops towards Kiev this direction, and troops towards Kiev this direction, cutting off the capital. And he drives straight down to Dnipro, the D silent. And by the way, these airports, this one, Zaporizhzhia, and then Dnipro. Both of those airports are closed, as is the airport at Kharkiv. Remind me not to use Google Maps anymore. So I think the plan is Odessa from the ocean, Mariupol from the ocean, drive this way, drive that. Sorry. Okay. All right. Let me go back here. There we go. Am I on the right page? I apologize. Thank you all again for watching. I'll be up into the chat in just a minute. If you'd like to say hello or if you have questions or anything like that. Again, somehow I messed up when I tried to use my cursor. Okay, I think the objective is from Odessa up to Kiev. Try to create a line there. From Mariupol up to that line, and from Kharkiv across to Kiev, from Belarus down to Kiev, because the Russian Navy has a large fleet currently stationed off the coast of Mariupol and down here by Odessa in the Black Sea. So I think it's all for purpose. Back to the original line, whether the former President Trump thinks he's a genius. A lot of people think he's insane. There's a fine line between genius and insanity. I think it's military strategy, and he wants to split the country in half. So he can basically have the Black Sea and most of the area surrounding his border. They'll probably try to take it from, I'm pointing and that does you no good. They'll probably try to get here, split the country right down here, maybe even split Kiev and have an eastern Kiev, which is Russian, and a western Kiev, like with Germany. When this is all solved, once it's all started. But the key to all of it is, once it starts, you have a good idea how it's going to start if you're starting it. But once it gets going, things can change and it becomes really unpredictable. And I'm still hoping and praying it doesn't start, because to my knowledge, as of 9:31 p.m., other than here in Donetsk and Luhansk regions, there has not been any incursions. Final thing before I get to the chat real quick, and then I'm going to pop back to some other subjects here. There is a no-fly zone on both sides of the border. Ukraine here, and it all centers here on Kharkiv. On the Ukrainian side of the border, they have put up a no-fly zone for tonight. On the Russian side of the border, they have put up a no-fly zone until May the 18th. Just something to think about. All right, let me hop over here and there we go. Hello, everybody. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. It's the American Doofus Show. Don't be a doofus. Please subscribe, like, share, and feel free to hop in the chat. If you don't see me up here, I'm not on this page where I can look at the chat. I'm putting stuff together or trying to produce and talk at the same time. So disciplinary sage, hello. Let me just get up here into the top of the chat and just see if I can. And if you got any questions, like I said, hop them in here. And if you don't want to publicly get in the chat, that's cool. You can email me at americandufus, all one word, AMERICANDUFUS, not DOOFUS, DUFUS. And if you'd like to help support the show, you can do so through the Cashapp, the same $ American Doofus, all one word. So good, we got some chat going on. T-Rex, Welcome. Let's see. USA F-35 circling the Baltic states and repositioning in Europe. Yes, the F-35s and some Apache helicopters have been moved from Italy up to Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, otherwise known as the Baltics. Joint cyber attacks have been going on. Like I said, I've been doing this now for almost 20 minutes. So 20 minutes, I haven't been checking and getting updates on things. So if there are attacks going on here in the United States, I don't know about it at the moment. Russia won't fire first or invade, only make NATO sweat. I hope you're right, disciplinary sage. There's the possibility of false flag events. Like I mentioned, a lot of people started pointing towards that chemical plant that shut down. No matter what happens, when it happens, both sides are going to blame the other. One is going to be telling the truth, the other isn't. It's really not going to matter in the short term because people are going to start dying, and they're going to start dying in mass amounts. And I saw a report today, and I don't know if I've got it up or not. If I've got it up, I don't think I'm going to show it. But they were showing trucks with mobile crematoriums in the trailers to dispose of bodies as quickly as possible, to make it look like the body count wasn't really as devastating as it's projected to be. That's a horrific, and it's something that I had never even considered I would be talking about in a news broadcast, but yet there it was. So it's going to happen, or it's not going to happen. My hope and my prayers is it does not happen. My brain and my analysis says it could happen at any moment. It may be happening now. We just aren't aware of it because of information blackouts. If all the computers, if all the and mobile phones have been going down over there as well. If everything goes down, there's no way that information will get out unless it's controlled by somebody. You're either going to see it from U.S. media and get the U.S. slant. You're going to see it from TASS or one of the other Russian organizations and get the Russian slant. Unless you can, like I use Radio Free Europe, I use Al Jazeera. You know that if you watch the show, you've seen stories from those sites, because I feel like they're as objective as we're going to get, unless we get citizen journalists like the show uses for events here in the United States. And somebody wrote to me and said, "How's come we're not? Why aren't we seeing?" I don't have the email up, so I'm paraphrasing. Why aren't we seeing in mass media, mainstream media? Why aren't we seeing how things are advancing like we always do in the past? In the past, we've always been part of it. Going into Afghanistan, especially the incredible entertainment show that was put on going in, and it cost people's lives, but it was propaganda to get people behind the war in Iraq and show off military might to the world. So in those situations, it was always beneficiary to the United States to have control of the media and to push out there the advancement and how, the buildup and troops or reporters embedded with actual forces. So, we could feel like we were right there and we were part of it, like we were watching a football game. And it's not a game. It's not a game. I'm not saying reporters shouldn't be there. They should. I'm just saying that sometimes U.S. media presents it in a way that we have to remind ourselves this is damn dead ass serious. And especially when you get the potential of the United States and Russia squaring off, not to mention China, rogue states like North Korea, Iran, who knows? Pakistan's president flew in and met with the prime minister, or met with Putin, and he was ecstatic to be there on that day. We are trying to isolate Putin, and I think all we might be doing is drawing his allies potentially closer. China talked last night as I was doing a broadcast live, came out and said, we're putting sanctions on the United States because of them selling missiles to Taiwan being on our border. And then came out today and said, paraphrasing here, maybe if you think of Russia's logic is Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union, therefore it should still be part of Russia. Taiwan was part of China at one point prior to the wars of 100 years ago, and maybe it should be China's again. So China and Russia, while China didn't make a statement of support or condemnation against Russia in the last Security Council meeting we saw, they kind of stood in the middle. China will buy all the oil and anything Russia needs. Or not Afghanistan, but oh my gosh, my mind just went blank. Argentina, South America. They will end up being an ally of Putin if we go to, if heaven forbid, if the conflict escalates. Because I'm not going to say World War III, because that is defined by history. It's not defined at the beginning. And but if you play chess and you look moves, you're always looking moves ahead, several moves ahead. Our friend T-Rex mentioned the helicopters, or the fighter jets, and I mentioned their helicopters there as well. Between 800 and 1,000 troops, so it's not a boots on the ground deterrent. The deterrent is in the air power, but it doesn't mean the deterrent's not there, because it is, and it's also on the Russian border. So how could we, playing chess, you look again, moves ahead. All right, so we made this move and we put those up there. Does Putin consider that, with Belarus being between them? But Belarus is a friendly country, friendly to Russia, and does he look at that as a threat? And does he counter that threat, which means attacking NATO countries, which means attacking U.S. forces, which means USA's at war with Russia, while USA is also committed to defending China, defending Taiwan against China. We talked the other night, Taiwan and the United States, they don't recognize each other. They don't have embassies, but we are Taiwan's biggest ally and the only deterrent to China, as somebody said earlier, curb stomping them. So let me hop back over here. Okay. Again, thank you, T-Rex. Thank you for Disciplinary Sage. No, by the goat, Russia will go in. You don't put troops in place for intimidation. I agree. They're going in. I just think it's when. They're just like the magician has an assistant. This is the war everyone said Trump was going to be in. That's true. That's true. People said Trump would do something stupid and get us in a war. Now, remember Trump and Putin are buds. Remember, Trump doesn't win the primary without the money coming in from Russia, as well as, Donald Jr. No, before anybody jumps on me, Donald Jr. specifically laid all that out, that all the money came from Russia. And was there Russian help as far as influencing social media with stories? That all comes back to Hillary Clinton being involved in Ukraine. Biden's kid being involved in Ukraine, and Russia and Ukraine. While there are people in Ukraine who are pro-Russian, who want to be part of Russia, there are people in Russia who want to be in Ukraine. The majority of the leadership really truly detest each other. They don't like each other. And you could see that in the last Security Council meeting. Speaking of which, that might have already started. It has started. Albania is speaking, so I'm not going to put us on that. But what I will do, I'm going to monitor it, and I won't be able to see your chat, so I'll have to hop back and forth from that. But Albania is speaking at the moment. If they went in the same order, we missed the United States, but I think we know pretty much what America's stance is in all of this. Russia has a massive mineral deal with China and prepared for the long wait. And also Putin stockpiled a bunch of cash, 500 billion alone in December. So he's been planning for this for a long time. And I don't think it's a bluff. And I've already said where I think he's going in. If you just join us, I'll go back to that in a minute. I'm trying to run through the chat here. Hi, Fred. I'm trying, man. And I don't get on here and talk for 18, 20 hours. I try to keep these between 45 minutes and an hour and a half, and try to tell you everything you need to know as it has happened over the past few hours. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not going to be on here for 6, 8, 10, 12 hours if it does kick off, because that's probably going to be the case, because there's probably going to be a whole lot of things to talk about. But that's not what we normally do. Normally, we keep an eye on things, monitor things, and then show you what we feel like needs to get out there that isn't always getting out there. Renegade knows. Trump said Putin's smart because Putin said his Trumps went in to keep the peace, which what meant was Putin is controlling the narrative, kind of like how you and CNN are by saying Trump said he's a genius. No, Trump said he was a genius. I saw the video. He came out and said he's a genius. I mean, now, yeah, he's controlling the narrative. And I've said this in my other episodes, Renegade, that, I think Putin said used peacekeepers specifically because that's the guys that the United States uses constantly to go in. We're going in as peacekeepers. And then, we're going to see what kind of natural resources and things we can take advantage of, just keeping that real. And by the way, I don't hate Republicans. I've got a whole bunch of Republicans in my family. But there's a difference. And I've been saying this for a few years. It's gotten blurry at times, but there's a difference between those that are obsessed with Donald Trump and just people that are Republicans. Again, hey, sissy. Afghanistan is a multi-trillion mine waiting to be tapped. The only problem is you can't take Afghanistan. We should have learned that from Russia, the Soviet Union. That helped to bring down the Soviet Union, by the way, since we're talking about all this. UAE seems this has been going on since 2014. Actually, it's been going on for, it's not quite as long as the Middle East, but pretty close. And as far as world history goes, just a quick 2-minute version. There was Poland, which was basically covered all the way across Ukraine and Russia, most of what's now Russia. That was Poland. Ukraine became a territory when Poland was broken up, and Ukraine also contained most of Russia. The Soviet Union came into existence, all one entity. Soviet Union gets broken up, partially because of their involvement in Afghanistan, and independent republics are formed: Georgia, Belarus, Ukraine, and the former Soviet states that were closest to the West, being Romania and Poland, go into the United Nations. Russia says, we want to come into, or not the United Nations, I apologize, NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Romania, and again, this is real, I'm not getting into the nuances, it's just a 2-minute version of how we got to where we are. Romania and Poland go into NATO. Russia says, we want to join NATO. Basically, the United States says no. And at the time, again, the Soviet Union had collapsed and Russia was struggling. And we were the lone superpower because China was struggling. And we weren't thinking strategic 3D chess. We were thinking America great, always, And a lot of people in this country still have that mindset. And it is still the greatest country in the world to live in, don't get me wrong. But it can be better. That's always been my point. Anyway, so basically United States said, okay, you're part of the North Atlantic, but you're too big and we don't, we think that there might be problems down the road. Well, I think they took that personally and have held on to that little chip on the shoulder for a long time, and I don't think that gets talked about enough. So, long story short, we come to this point where we're at in 2019, or 2014. There was the civil war in Ukraine. The pro-Russian leader was thrown out, and depending on which side you're on, either a leftist or a Nazi was put into, because you can't, I guess not. Anyway, was put into power. And now the current president of Ukraine is a former stand-up comedian, and the current mayor of Kiev is a former professional boxer. So some don't take them seriously, and I think that's a mistake, especially after hearing the speech that the Zelensky gave today. Great speech, incredible speech. And so, long story short, Ukraine wants to be part of NATO now, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization that guarantees everybody's safety that's part of it because they're all under the wing of the United States military. Russia says, no, we can't have NATO right on our border. We've already got the Baltics on the border. And so potential conflict comes. Putin builds up his troops on 3 out of 4 sides. We say, no, this is no good. He said, okay, I'll pull my troops back. This was a week ago. I'll pull my troops back. He pulls some of them back. He shows a video of some of them leaving. They were immediately replaced. And then the size of the force began to greatly multiply. We know this from satellite footage. It's not just hyperbole or speculation. Now, supposedly, when you count medical personnel, and I mentioned that's going to haunt me, the idea of mobile crematoriums, and they were like stacked 4 deep in the back of these semi trucks, ready to blood supplies. One of the last things you bring up has been brought up, has been moved forward. So it could be happening right now, and we just aren't aware of it. Old communism is dead. New fascism is Gen X and late millennials. I'd like to have a discussion on that sometime. I can't disagree with it, but it's really not where my head's at the moment. It's focused on this, but that's something I'd like to talk about. Hello, Fred, and have I got everybody? Hiru the Duke, Delta, salute. Okay, I'm going to get back. I'm going to get back to sharing some screens here. U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations urges Russia back away from the brink before it's too late. So one of the things we missed here by me jabbering on. So let's see what's happening in the Security Council. Looks like England, United Kingdom is speaking. Oh no. I don't want any commercials. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. I hope that did that. I've got a lot of windows open, so my there we go. Good, it did stop sharing. Okay, let me go back to that. I hit the wrong button, and it took the stream forward and stopped at a commercial. Did I close that? I did. I closed out the Security Council. Sorry. Let's see if we can do this. There we go. And here's a live look at the square in Kiev. This is CGTN. It's they run global cameras, and it's part of the Chinese government. So hello, any Chinese looking in on me grabbing a view of your camera to make sure that the city's not in flames. Okay. I'm going to keep it on there for just a second while I try to get the UN back up.
Soldiers and
Here we
gathering
go.
weapons at an unprecedented level since the end of the Second World War. He has incited violence through lies and disinformation. He has denied even the legitimacy of the Ukrainian state. He has attacked sovereignty and the integrity of Ukraine by recognizing the independence of portions of Ukrainian territory. Faced with this strategy of threats and destabilization, Ukraine has demonstrated admirable restraint. It did not resort to violence despite Russian provocation. I wish to reiterate our solidarity with the people of Ukraine, as President Macron reminded his Ukrainian counterpart a few hours ago. Faced with this strategy of disorder and confrontation, the leaders of Europe and the United States showed their unity and redoubled their efforts to propose a diplomatic outcome. President Macron, together with Chancellor Scholz and many partners, have all done their part. They have demonstrated their availability to build with Russia a renewed security architecture for Europe. France strongly condemns the strategy of provocation to war of the Russian president. We hear the call of the Ukrainian people, conveyed by President Zelensky in his address to the Russian nation a few hours ago. Ukrainians want peace. They want a relationship of good neighborliness with Russia, mirroring the family and personal relationships which bind to so many Russians and Ukrainians. The international community, Mr. President, has made its voice heard, its united voice today at the General Assembly. It is out of respect to the Charter of the United Nations, the peaceful settlement of disputes, that of diplomacy. It echoes the clear declarations of the Secretary General. Once again, we call on the Russian Federation to follow this path, to draw back on its decision to recognize separatist entities of Eastern Ukraine and to call its soldiers back. We call each of the members of this council to act responsibly and to resolutely support all initiatives to prevent and put an end to violations of the Charter of the United Nations. If Russia confirms that its choice is war, it will have to take all of the responsibility and pay the price. Thank you.
I thank the representative of France for his statement, and I now give the floor to the representative of Ireland.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I'd like to thank the Secretary General and Under Secretary General De Carlo for their very sobering remarks at the beginning of our meeting. Mr. President, tonight as we gather at this table, we are staring into the abyss of a major conflict in Europe, a conflict that would have major global implications. Tonight, the core principles of this United Nations, in which we believe, are under attack. In Ireland, we know the importance of the rules-based international order. We know the importance of respecting the voice and integrity of all countries, big or small. Most fundamentally, we know the value of peace. We believe that one state threatening and using lethal force against another to get its way or to expand its territory is no solution. Ireland has a deep understanding, informed by our history, that dialogue and respect resolve disputes. Tonight, this drives our solidarity with Ukraine. It is our collective responsibility, indeed our obligation here at this table, to maintain international peace and security, nothing less. That means we stand up for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of every member state of the United Nations. Let's be clear, the internationally recognized borders of Ukraine have not changed. The decision by Russia to recognize as independent entities the non-government controlled areas of Donetsk and Luhansk regions of Ukraine does not change those borders one iota. They did not change in 2014, and they have not changed this week. We urge the Russian Federation to reverse this decision immediately. We urge the Russian Federation to refrain from further escalatory unilateral actions which can only serve to further deepen this crisis. Tonight, the path for diplomacy, the path for dialogue that we have called on for so long is perilously narrow. The principles of the UN Charter we hold dear have already been breached. These principles now risk being further violated. This is the time to show courage, the courage and the time now.
Okay. No disrespect to Ireland. I don't know, 15% Irish, I think. I don't know. It changes every time Ancestry.com gets a new batch of information. Anyway, I want to get off of that and come on. How can I? Bear with me for just a second here. And thank you. It's something I want to share again from actually, this is not where it was at. It was right here on mine. This is from OSINT Defender about an hour ago. And if you've been watching the entire broadcast, thank you, of course. But I mentioned Mariupol in the start as a town that doesn't get talked about a lot, that may be a focus. And back in this corner, I don't know how well you can see it, but back in this corner, smoke is seen billowing high into the sky in and around Mariupol from live stream facing towards the Ukrainian coastal city. So I don't know if it's been naval bombardment and the attack has started. If so, it looks like it was started about an hour ago. And OSINT is basically open source intelligence. Okay, it's a collection of non-GOs, if you will, non-government organizations that share information. Inlet News says, I'd keep an eye out for when those two Turkish A400 transport aircraft leave Ukrainian airspace. They're still there. Again, this is Ukrainian airspace. This is the airspace of Western Russia. No planes around the eastern airspace of Ukraine, or basically anywhere in Ukraine. These two over here are in Moldova. The only plane that is currently up is Forte 12 right here, which is a which is a drone. And there's the flight path it has been on, primarily monitoring Donetsk and then Kharkiv, as well as down to Mariupol. And it appears that it might be heading home. The drone is deployed from Cyprus, and which is down here. And once we start getting down here, you'll see all the aircraft that would normally be more spread out, really avoiding anywhere close to Ukraine or the Black Sea. And there again, you'll see major lines flying across Romania. It almost looks like in a flock. And we'll go down here real quick and show you. Right here's where the drone takes off from, and then that will be its path back home as well. And it appears that it is leaving. Is it leaving because it's not leaving because it's out of fuel? Is it leaving because something significant is going to happen? Or is there a replacement plane on the way? They mentioned the Turkish aircraft. These are Turkish Air Force planes that are on the ground in Kiev. Only planes on the ground. I mentioned earlier Kharkiv, Dnipro, and Zaporizhzhia. These airports are all closed. Their runways are blocked to prevent Russian troops and Russian transports from using the airstrips. So we'll see how all of this plays out. I would guess that the Turkish transports are probably about loaded up. The speculation is that, let me see if I can zoom in enough to show I'm zooming the wrong way. Zoom in enough to show well, there may just be one plane left. The assumption is that the plane here, this Turkish plane, about to depart from Kiev, but yet not parked in the normal parking area that was pointed out earlier in a tweet. So when this is again presumed to be loaded with people that are going to get out of the area before something happens. And speculation was that it would all start at 4 a.m. local time, which would have been 9 p.m. when I was scheduled to come on. It's now 10:12, and thus far nothing significant has happened that we know of. Again, we've seen the smoke supposedly from possible explosions around Mariupol. There have been explosions in Donetsk and Luhansk throughout the day. So is it going to be limited to just this area? If so, I would say that would be considered a positive compared to what my scenario. And just as I said that, I'm not in my normal studio tonight. That's the reason I was a little bit late. I'm sitting because I'm down to one old computer at the moment. I don't have a monitor computer anymore. And so I'm sitting out where I can look at my television, and I just looked up, and CNN team in Kharkiv are hearing blasts of artillery, and that's from Clarissa Ward, chief international correspondent. So let me hop back over here and get into the chat for just a minute. There's an airstrike going on right now, Daryl. Steve has it over at Agenda Free. I don't have that. I don't have Steve up at the moment.
Good afternoon, everyone.
No, this was okay. And I don't want to actually, I'll peek in. I can do it without showing. I can peek into his stream without actually playing his stream and violating any copyrights or anything.
I was pre-hypertension and I needed to really pay a lot.
And that's just a commercial. He's not going to copyright me for that. Putin announces military operations against Ukraine, according to Agenda Free TV. Again, this is the disadvantage of doing everything by yourself and not having somebody producing and looking ahead, trying to play announcer, producer, and director all at once. But it's a lot easier on radio. I did it for a long time on radio. It's a little bit more difficult online, but we'll make do. And I thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. And I don't think we do a bad job of it. I'm waiting to see if, okay. Waiting to see if, let's go see if Radio Free Europe has it. See if there's anything from Reuters. Nothing from Reuters at the moment. Nothing from Radio Free Europe. Okay. I don't know. Can I share this? Let me see if I can share this. It seems like it's on, people. Before I share this, I'm just going to stop for a minute, just for a brief silent prayer on my part and a moment of silence for the people of Russia, the people of Ukraine, the people of family members of all of those that are going to be impacted by what happens, let alone those souls that are going to be taken over this. So give me just 20 seconds. It's a dark world. Try to be a light. Thank you, CNN or CNBC. Explosions reported in Kiev. As Putin says, Russia is launching an attack on the Ukraine. CNN teams in Kiev and Kharkiv are hearing blasts. Guess it was 4 a.m. Moscow time instead of 4 a.m. Kiev time, which is what we had been told. Russian President Vladimir Putin in an early, am I sharing this? Make sure I'm sharing this stream. Okay. Or this page. Let me expand it a little bit as well, so in hopes that you'll be able to see. Okay. Russian President Vladimir Putin, in an early Thursday morning address in Moscow, announced that Russia would launch a military action in Ukraine. NBC News reported explosions were heard in Kiev, the Ukraine capital. United States Security Council had just convened an emergency meeting Wednesday night. Earlier, European and U.S. officials scrambled to penalize Russia on Wednesday, responding to its deployment of troops to eastern Ukraine. As concerns grew that Russian aggressions would escalate, Ukraine warned its citizens to avoid traveling to Russia. So now we know it's happened. Now we start looking for the real story. Now we start trying to figure out what is happening and why it's happening and where it's happening. So Kharkiv, like I said, Kiev, the capital. You're welcome, Sissy. Fred, yes, prayers, yes. Trying to get CNN to pull up here at the moment. And okay, now that it's on, I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to kind of track it. And keep in mind, this isn't a game, but it's going to impact all of us. And when I say track it, I mean tracking the impact. So my first thought is, what's this going to do to us? What happens here? What happens here in the United States? I would say do not open. This is probably going to make a lot of people laugh, but don't open any emails that might have links to any Russian sites. Don't take any friend requests on Facebook or anywhere else, especially if it's somebody you know. Contact them first if it's that important. But tell you what, push comes to shove, social media is not going to be that important as far as friendly feuds and who's helicoptering over their kids. It will be important to communicate as long as it's up. So I said this the other night, don't take it for granted that we can talk like this, because potentially we won't be able to. And hearing ongoing artillery fire. Okay. Let me go to my Twitter and Nolan Peterson, who I referenced earlier, says, good God, it's actually happening. Scooter Caster says, Putin said he doesn't wish to occupy Ukraine, but he called for the demilitarization of Ukraine. There are so many reports coming through trying to verify. explosions in Kiev. I hope all the people who were assured Russia would never attack and doubted U.S. intelligence hang their heads in shame. I know what you're saying, but I don't know if it's the time for that. Putin just announced a military operation to denazify a country whose president is Jewish. Okay. There are, I've got video of multi-launch rockets. You can see multi-launch rockets going off. These are MLRS. That simply means multiple launch rocket system. I think they generally, if I'm not mistaken, they generally fire 12 rockets at a time without the need to reload. Okay, this is live, and I'm just going to go down my Twitter here, see what else. 16 minutes ago, Ukrainian air defense is engaging. Hearing what sounds like ongoing artillery fire and rocket fire in Belgorod, Russia. So Ukraine's firing back. Heavy anti-air fire over Kharkiv currently. Missiles and rockets are beginning to strike the city. I don't know, without getting too much into hyperbole. It feels like we're living in a movie. We're living in the prelude to World War II, when Adolf Hitler decided to annex and then decided to blitzkrieg Europe. This is one of those situations where we talked about if Putin is successful here, how far does he go? Now that it's happened here, does this green light China and Taiwan? Again, I'm playing chess in my head. Maybe I should just be quiet and watch, but it's let me refresh. Information is really flowing while it can, I assume, because if everything gets cut off, totally changes things. Many of us don't know our neighbors. A lot of us are alone. Probably most of us rely heavily on the internet and our cell phones. If all that disappears, and let's say an EMP missile is is dropped over a portion of the United States instead of a nuclear missile. Something that doesn't get talked about a lot. EMP, electromagnetic pulse. It would be just as devastating as far as creating chaos, and it would be less devastating than a nuclear launch as far as long term, but equally as devastating as far as the amount of chaos and potential destruction it would cause in the United States, just out of the fact that we're not a very well-connected people other than online. Caitlin Collins says President Putin has chosen a premeditated war that will bring a catastrophic loss of life and human suffering. President Biden says in a new statement, he will speak tomorrow morning. Tonight, Jill and I are praying for the brave and proud people of Ukraine. Praying for the people of Russia as well. Heavy gunfire being heard near Kiev's Boris International Airport. Unsure of what exactly is going on. Let's okay, there is absolutely no planes anywhere as far as commercial flights, as far as recognizable supposedly non-armed drones, surveillance flights. That doesn't mean there's not a whole lot of activity going on. It's just we are not seeing it. Let me get it. I didn't show you Flight Tracker. My fault. Again, I apologize. Again, nothing over Belarus, nothing over the western part of Russia, massive part. This is this incredible amount of territory where there just isn't any air traffic at the moment. Let's pull it. There we go. Let's see if we can do this. Pull it out just so you can see. There you go. You get an idea of the amount of traffic that is in the sky. And if you're flying from Finland to Turkmenistan, you may have to go all the way around this, it's a small thing when you consider what could potentially be happening. But we as Americans are often short-sighted, and sometimes we don't think things through as we should possibly, or as deeply or seriously as we should. There are going to be so many ramifications. Two heavy explosions in Mariupol on the coast of the Sea of Azov. Another explosion near Turkish in Kiev. I imagine it's Putin has just announced another military operation in Donbass region of Ukraine. So I don't know. It's okay. Let me refresh here. I don't think this is going to be, well, this is it, okay, now it's happened. I think we're going to be talking about this for a while. I think we just all shared we all shared history right now, all of us watching this. I pray it's not so, but my fear is that we've witnessed the launching of a conflict that could eventually put the three big kids on the block, and one of us gets voted off the island. Okay. I have found the statement from Biden. President Putin has chosen a premeditated war that will bring a catastrophic loss of life and human suffering. Okay, that's nothing new. Why did I get? Okay, it's been retweeted. Okay, this is what I was looking for. The entire statement. Monitoring the situation for the White House, meet G7 counterparts, speak to the American people. Also coordinate NATO allies, ensure a strong united response that deters any aggression against the alliance. Remember, Ukraine is not yet part of NATO, so it's not part of the alliance. And for some reason, when I said alliance, it went through my mind. Dum dum da dum dum da dum dum da dum 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 da. Anyway, I'm trying to see if I can find any more information. I'm not real crazy about showing like things blowing up and knowing people are losing their lives. I prefer, I've talked about it on here before, as some people go to car races to see the crashes. I always went to car races to see the talent and the skill people had that completed the race, whether they be mechanics or drivers. But so I'm looking more for information than I'm not necessarily looking for devastation. Just so you know, a lot of people are going to make a whole bunch of money doing these kind of shows and capitalizing on the death of a lot of people. Russian fighter aircraft are being reported. This is 10 seconds ago. Russian fighter aircraft being reported over the Belgorod region, heading in the direction of Kharkiv city. I said at the beginning of the night that my fear was that it would start at Kharkiv, not in the Donetsk. And CNN teams in Kiev and Kharkiv currently hearing heavy blasts. If I get pictures, I will show you the pictures. But at the moment, the United Nations meeting is still going on, by the way. Mexico's speaking at the moment. And I don't think there's going to be much that we're going to be able to learn from that, I'm afraid. Go back to Google Maps. Again, if you're just joining us, thanks for watching. It's official. Russia has launched military operations against Ukraine. Russian invasion has officially begun. Had there been any doubts, shelling going on right now in the Russian areas of Kharkiv, Kiev, and Mariupol, as far as we know, as well as the Donetsk region and the Luhansk region. So it's a dark night. It's a historic night. I thought I had you on another screen. I'm sorry. Again, we're talking about this area. There we go. This is Ukraine. Fire, we know, in Mariupol, Kharkiv, right up here, Kiev. I said earlier that I thought there would be action from the Black Sea against Odessa, and that they would try to cut from Odessa to Kharkiv, and then from the river up to Kiev, and then from Belarus down into Kiev. We'll see how it all actually plays out. At the moment, reports of fighting here in Mariupol, Donetsk, Luhansk, Kharkiv, and the capital of Kiev. Nothing over here in the West, as far as we know. President Biden has further condemned, quote, unprovoked and unjustified attack on Ukraine, end quote. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. It's 10:40. As I said, I don't like to do real long broadcasts. I've been on for an hour and a half now. And I thank you all. I thank you all for watching. I'm going to stop the live here for a few minutes, or actually I'm going to stop the live here in a few minutes, probably, just to give everybody a chance to watch it in the future that aren't with us live. A lot of people watch the replay, and the more condensed we can keep it, the better it is for them as far as getting information out to people. I do want to hop into the chat real quick here. Rest in peace, Ukraine. From T-Rex. Greetings, Lady D. Oh, so real. Again, Sissy. Okay. Oh, Dr. Rhea, almost missed you being in here. Marco Rubio just said Russian airstrikes taking place in Kiev. So, yeah, it's happening. How bad is it going to get? We will find out. So, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. It is 10:41. That means it is 4:42 a.m. in Russia, 5:42 a.m. in Kiev, and it'll start to get light. Once it gets light, there will be more people that will be live streaming, that will be showing us footage. So I'm going to drink a few Mountain Dews here to get my caffeine level up, and I'm going to come back on at 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's 10:42 now, so what would that be? 11, 12, 1, 2. It'll be 3 hours and 17 minutes. Okay, so I'm gonna drop off again, because we're not getting a lot of information at the moment, as far as, and I don't like to just sit on here and talk. I like to be able to show some things as well. Disciplinary sage, I just listened to Putin speak. He said nothing like that. Okay. Again, that's why, that's why we just give you things to think about. Don't tell you what to think or how to think, because sometimes things we give you that come from a slanted media may not be exactly what happens. So that's what we try to do here. Try to show things that you're not going to see on mainstream media, and give you a place to come and talk if you so desire, to be able to express yourself in what you think and in how you feel. So I'm going to come back on, instead of 2, I'm going to make it 1 a.m. I'm going to come back on at 1 a.m. It'll definitely be light out, and 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we'll see what's going on, and do a report. So thank you all for watching. I love y'all. Again, if you want to help support the show, it's always appreciated and greatly needed. $ American Doofus, all one word, AMERICANDUFUS. Got links down to buy one of my 3 novels. Latest one is called America, Land of the Greed, Home of the Grave. It's the first of a 3-part series of books entitled America. And the second one's going to be coming out probably late spring, early summer. Depends on how things play out here over the next few weeks with what has just begun tonight. I hope we had just seen the beginning of a regional conflict in Europe, and not the prelude to World War III. I love y'all. I will be back again at 1 a.m., 2 hours and 15 minutes from now. So take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. It's a dark world. Be a light. Share the link. Let people know we're doing this, and we don't do it like other people do it. So I appreciate you watching. I love y'all. We'll see you very soon. This is the American Doofus Show. Don't be a doofus. Thank you so much.